Hi, my name is Wackaflcka. I hope you guys have a good evening, night, whichever one fits you like that. And as the title says, in this video I'll be watching a Twitch OTP support that has peaked 1500 LP Challenger on NA. Currently on this account is playing some master game. I didn't know who this guy was until someone messaged me on Discord, and that is what made me want to make this video. I'm gonna link this guy's channel below. I'm sure some people are interested in watching his gameplay. He's not actually that big on Twitch, so he'll appreciate it too. And yeah, there are two things I'm going to do. I'm going to spectate. This is the old season. It's all irrelevant though. There is good information I'm going to give here in this video, as I've already watched this once before out of curiosity when this guy messaged me. Right? So don't feel like you're not learning anything or there's nothing to come from this video. But someone messaged me and asked, do you feel confident, or like, do you think you can coach someone in like Master, Grandmaster, Challenger, and like, or do you think I should maybe message this guy here? And I'm not saying you shouldn't message this guy here, right? Like, I'm sure this guy has knowledgeable information as well. He's probably more than capable of coaching someone. But the question was, can I, right? And that is kind of what we're going to answer here today in this video. So we're going to spectate this guy, and the first thing we're going to see here, which is an interesting thing when it comes to improving in League. There are many ways to improve in League, right? But the higher rank you get, the amount of like knowledge you can gain that will like help you increase your skill level, like declines exponentially, right? Like it becomes a lot harder to become better when you're at the top. But when you're lower elo, like simple things, like even like some simple advice might like make your growth as a player like grow exponentially in comparison. And the first thing we're going to see here is a tip, like an advice, like a small little trick that he does. Like this isn't like something you'll pay money for to learn, but it's also like a really interesting thing. You can see he doesn't buy potion, right? Then he runs mid, attacks Lysandra, and then Lisa in to get 160 gold. Then he pulls back and he buys the refillable. And I thought this was a really cool trick. And I wish I would have kind of like thought about that sometimes, because it is a really nice thing, right? So this is like something you can teach someone, like tell them this is a cool trick, you can do this, etc. And that might help them climb, right? But then you have other things. Like you need to learn habits, you need to learn how to play the game, etc. And as you play the game, your habits kind of settle, right? Like you do certain things, and then that's where kind of like a coach might come in, because they will help you correct your bad habits or just educate you about things, right? And in this case here, I would assume that this guy's habits and playstyle is kind of set in stone. So if this guy was to get coached as an example, like he might just need like some correctional like behavior, right? Because the first thing we're going to see here in this game is something I think is bad. And obviously, things that happen in the game, for any reason, might just be a one-time thing, right? But obviously, you don't want that to happen. So what we're going to see here is, I've mentioned this in my videos before, right? Remember parallel laning, where you want to fight this 2 versus 1, right? And when you pick someone, you pick them 1v2 or 1v1. But then when the second person arrives, you need to pull back, because you cannot play in the 2v1 situation. And that is something we see that this guy here fails to recognize. And I can understand that, or the idea behind this, because he has PTA. And it's very tempting to proc this last proc. But watch now what happens because of that. Right? You can't do this. Now what does he have to do? He has the flash. And then he's basically forced to recall. So he doesn't get to play this lane. Right? And when you're playing against someone like Ashe Varus, you might say they're a very strong poke shot comp. Like they're hard to play into something. But I would definitely say that this comp, bot lane, is killable, right? But he lost, like, that's the only play you kind of have here. You can't shove these people in, right? It's very hard to shove like the Ashe Varus in when they have so much like AoE and stuff. So you can't really go for that. Right? You have a Seraphine bot, she's fine farming in a tower, so that's obviously a thing, but then you're gonna lose XP, like if you go Roman in. Because the easiest way to like set off easy roam is just push the wave in, get like a 2-3 waves shoved in. And then you have like a little like 1 minute window to roam, right? And he could have roamed here maybe, right? But he can't, because he needs level 2 at least. Unless he like wants to match like Vi or like some kind of like gank or invade on Lee Sin or whatever. Like it would be a very big risk to like attempt something at level 1. Right? So this is something that I'm sure he's aware of that was bad. But at the end of the day, to climb, you just need to be consistent. And if he did this consistently, he would not climb, right? And that's why you need to like get someone to correct and make you do these things less. Or just tell you like you don't do this and educate you, right? But again, I'm sure he knew what he did wrong now. And then the lane just kind of plays out. Everything is fine. He wards. And you can just see here, right? Like, they have so much pressure and so much damage. Like, they just beat Ash Varus. And, like, he could have done that way earlier. He could have been on the map way earlier. And just done certain things. Like, imagine they would have fought that level 2. At least in, like, they would have been dead. Then Vine, which could have gone for Lee Sin maybe. Secure bot scuttle, go double scuttle for Vi. Just as an example. And like, I know you can make arguments towards me too. Like I've peaked around 600 LP master, and I've said this many times, right? But it's hard to believe. Like it's hard to understand. But I don't care to climb past that because it requires, for me personally, a very large amount of mental for me to kind of like push through this and like play properly every game, because I lose a lot of motivation when I get griefed, and that is one of my biggest problems in League of Legends. Like my mental is very bad, right? But me not caring also like removes a lot of my motivation, and I think those are two of my biggest like factors that are causing me to not be able to climb if I even try. I tried to get 450 LP once because I wanted to apply for low pros for the fun of it, and I got that quite easily, so then I was feeling motivated. But like normally I don't, right? And I'm fine with that. I'm okay with that. I'm content. Like I'm not upset. I'm not insecure about it. Right? But you might say I'm just making excuses, but I'll stand by it. You can make as much fun as you want, but I generally don't care. Like what you have to say. And you can see here, right? Like he's very strong. So like it just again proves the point that he wasted so much potential early game by just taking that really bad trade. And in some games, it can be make or break early game to do that. Right? And then for the rest of the game here, he's playing a winning game, and I think he plays it quite well, right? But then we are going to see some issues again, which I'm going to point out. And I think this is actually one of the new learning aspects, like the new meta, right? There's always like one thing people learn, like for the past 1 seasons, like 2 things have been very big. Like counter picks have been very big and heavily focused on. Like draft has been improved by a lot. And the second thing has been wave management. But the third thing that I think is going to be very big now is actually playing towards vision. And that is what this video here is about. Because that is one thing that I noticed this guy, once he got into the late stage of the game, he did nice wards, but in some situations he did not play towards vision. And I will tell you guys what that means while we watch this game here now. So when you're in the mid lane, right, you have top side and bot side. And when you're warding, since you are limited, sometimes you're forced to just focus on one side, because if you ward like a little bit on one side and a little bit on the other side, you're going to cover a lot less than if you ward like a lot on one side, right? Which is why most of the time your wards will be focused on one side of the map. And you generally want to focus the wards on the map where the objective is coming, right? So that's going to be Dragon and Baron. And then you just rotate vision on top and bot. So if you put a lot of vision in the top side, right? Then the most logical and best thing you can do when you're in the lane, like especially now in the like new season, like the lanes are much wider. So you want to play towards the vision, right? So when you ward topside, that means that you are going to be standing towards your wards as close as possible, because that increases the distance between where you don't have vision to where you have vision, right? It's like when people come out of vision, like say they come here, right? You have the pinks now, you can see in this bush. Like if you're standing, like if you have wards in this bush here, and like entry to red side here, and where Vi is, if you stand towards that side, and have Fiddlesticks on the other side, like it's going to be impossible for him to engage on you, right? And you would, the only reason Fiddlesticks would be able to engage on you is if you walk towards him, or like you were standing close to him, right? But you know you're not standing close to him because you have vision now. And that is something we see here now. You see he has a ward here, right? He doesn't have a ward here. What if Lee Sin is here right now and just Qs him? What's stopping that from happening, right? What is like genuinely stopping Lee Sin from being here, queuing him, ward up, and then ulting him into tower? That would not happen if he was standing here. Or vice versa, there was no ward here, but there was a ward here. Then if he stood where he's standing now, then Lee Sin it would be impossible for Lee Sin to reach Twitch, right? If he was standing on this side here. So you can see that his habits in terms of like playing towards vision is like, it could be better, right? And that is one thing, like if I, like now you can see what there, but that ward should have been a lot earlier. You need to realize the risk that you're in at any time, and then ask yourself if that is worth the risk, or if you can do something about that risk, right? Right? Like risk management. Like this is very nice. This is a very good habit. He had a ward left, he walks through this bush, he wards it. That's very nice. I like that a lot. And that is something we're going to see throughout the entire game. So his habits in that term is very good. But I think if he was to improve on something, it would definitely be to play towards vision. Like that is something we'll see again throughout the game. That he doesn't really always have in mind. You can see he has so many other things in mind, right? Like the warding the bushes, like it's just all on autopilot. Like bish, 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 walk through a bush, ward that, boom, 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 you know? And obviously if this guy was to go pro, which I'm sure he could if he put more time and practice into everything, right? It's obviously like peaked right top 10. So if he were to have like a personal coach, that coach would always be sitting with him. Like, not always, right? But he'd be asking him these things and just helping him like reinforce these bad habits that he has. So again now, we see Lissandra here, right? Then we lose vision of her. And this is the one time he fails thing. Like, he should have warded this bush here now. Like, imagine if Lissandra came from behind right now. Like, how awkward that would have been to be pinned in. Like, they're ahead and they would probably win the fight anyway. But, like, this is the one case where he kind of failed that autopilot in warding that bush. Especially when you see Lissandra there. So, although it's very good most of the time, like, he did fail once. And obviously, the less you fail, the better it is. Because, again, just consistency, right? Like, again, very good habit there, warding that bush. But though, that's like the only major thing I want to point out in this game. It's just vision. Just play towards vision. Just remembering certain things when you see someone coming from somewhere. Because especially in like no mobility champions, you have to make sure you don't get cornered or sandwiched. It is very bad for that to happen to you. And it is the thing that you cannot really do anything about if you put yourself in that situation. Right? And then, for the final thing, for me to do a VOD review, it's $10, right? And then a coaching session where we sit 2 to 3 hours together, talk about the game, watch your game, and just I help you implement things. And I kind of do that picking on your shoulder thing that I'm talking about here and implement that. That is $30, right? And then you can get a $5 discount by watching my stream and using the channel points. That is up to you. So, again, could I coach or help a challenger player improve at the game? I would like to believe so. I think so. I feel confident in so. Obviously, in certain roles where I feel less experienced, I feel I can contribute less. But on support, jungle, and like ADC, I feel I have a lot to do, right? And as I said, like when you reach the high levels of gameplay, the things you have to do to improve the game, like, become so minor. Like, it's just very small changes, right? So, like, this guy, like, if you were to have coaching as an example, right? Like, he might pay $50 to $100 to have coaching by, like, LS or something. But the advice he would get is, like, you need to play around vision, you need to play better vision, etc., right? Like, that would be worth it for him, because there's such a small, like, gap between, like, the next step of, like, level. Whereas, like, someone that is lower level, it's like, oh, you need to kill these minions, do that. And then, like, he'll get a lot more information, and it's gonna seem more worth, because, like, he can learn so much more, so there's so much more to teach, right? But there's a lot less for this guy to teach, but at the same time, like, it's the information and the things he gets for what? It's, like, much more valuable to him, right? Because it's very hard to, like, fine-tune and, like, sharpen the finish on the blade, right? As opposed to just making a sharp blade. Like, that's easy. You can just do that quite easily. But then to, like, make a perfect sharp edge, that's difficult, you know? And that's what that last spear at the top is. And that is why, like, even for someone like this to get coaching is fine, right? But he's going to gain a lot less. Or, like, learn a lot less. And sometimes it's just about throwing ideas at each other. Like, if I was to talk with this guy and I saw the potion thing, I'd be like, wow, that's really cool. And then I'd, like, exchange some of my ideas. Like, I was watching IMLS and Scenarios do coaching. And that's basically what they were doing. They were just exchanging ideas, like items, etc. And I'm not promoting LS here. I'm just saying, like, that's just how it goes sometimes. You just need to pick that brain, because everything is so, like, set in stone. Like, he has his own habits, he has his playstyle, everything. So, like, you need to, like, maybe just get change of view. Like, that's what it requires and needs sometimes. Just get a different perspective of the game. Because you just have your own perspective and you're good at the game, so, like, you just believe you're right. But sometimes all you need is just someone to change your perspective a bit. Right? And that's it. And obviously, it's very hard to implement things. Like, I can say 1,000 things about my own gameplay, right? But it's very hard to implement, which is why at times you need someone to consistently and constantly tell you, like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, right? It's a very tedious process at times. It's just a question of if you are willing to go through that process or not. Like, if you're not wanting to, like, improve to such a, like, extreme amount, that is completely fine. It's a game at the end of the day. So yeah, hope you guys continue to have a good morning, you know, showing fits like that. Hope you guys did learn something from this video, and take care. Peace.